Sources today say that Sony's getting ready to release a firmware update to bring some of those high-level video capabilities that we find in more entry-level cameras to high-end cameras like the Alpha 1 and the A7S III. Details coming up, but first, please do me a favor. Follow me on Twitter, subscribe, choose all notifications, like, comment, and all that great stuff. It really does help this channel grow. It's a frustration among Sony Alpha 1 owners that a more recent camera, the Sony FX3, has more advanced video capabilities than the Alpha 1. It has a lot more video capabilities. And these are software features that can easily be added in a firmware update. And let's take a look at animal eye detection or animal eye autofocus. Well, we can see it's a selectable option in the Sony Alpha 1. Well, it just doesn't work. It's not up to the game. Now, maybe Sony forgot to put it into the camera. Maybe there's some sort of software bug. But the Alpha 1 at $6,500 has been out for 2.5 years. There's no reason why we didn't receive some sort of firmware update to get this fixed. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating and annoying when we see it in entry-level cameras like the Sony ZV-E10, a vlogging camera. Not in the Alpha 1, not in the A7S III. And there's no reason why we shouldn't have autofocus assist, especially when it's in the FX3 and pretty well every new Sony camera that came out after the FX3. It's frustrating, it's irritating. And what about focus control? Why hasn't that been added to the Sony Alpha 1 or the A7S III? It just makes things look a whole lot better, especially if you're doing product vlogging, for example. You hold something out and you've got this incredible focus breathing. I think focus control is a terrific capability. It should be in the Alpha 1 and the A7S III. It's not that Sony doesn't provide updates. They do provide firmware updates, and updates do happen, although albeit infrequently. Version 2 came to the FX3. Version 2 to the A7S III to bring S-Cinetone. And I could go on ranting about this. Others certainly have done so, doing entire videos 16 minutes plus long, talking about this, but we have to ask ourselves a very simple question. Why is this a problem? Now, some might say, look, you bought the camera, the Alpha 1, the A7S III, or the ZFC, or the A7S II, and you knew what capabilities that camera had. When you purchased it, you reviewed it, you watched videos, you knew what this camera had. So why are you complaining that now it doesn't have new updates? Sony wants you to buy a new camera, so go buy a new camera. And simply put, Sony are seeing other brands delivering continuous updates to their platform. Lumix has been doing it for years with the GH6, the GH5, the GH4, constantly issuing firmware updates on a frequent basis, not only fixing bugs, but adding new, greatly improved enhancements to those capabilities, to the cameras. And Canon started doing the same thing back in 2020 with the Canon EOS R5, not just providing periodic updates to the firmware every year or two, providing minor bug fixes, but providing significant enhancements to the camera. The camera can now record 8K RAW, 8K oversample 4K, unlimited. Yes, there is that 30-minute record limit, but if you're using a Ninja 5 or something else, the point is it doesn't overheat at all in temperatures up to 96 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius. Autofocus has been greatly improved, taking some of the capabilities of the Canon EOS R3 down to the R5, giving us vehicle detection, and it can even track a race car driver if they're wearing a helmet. And I've tried this out, it's amazing. But what we really get from the Canon EOS R5 through all these firmware updates is we feel that our camera is still current. We don't feel that we have to upgrade because it's lacking some key capabilities. It's exciting, it makes us feel good about the camera that we have, about the brand that we have. But if you currently own the Sony Alpha 1 or the A7S III and you see that Lumix is providing all these enhancements and capabilities, you see that Canon's doing the same thing, and you're sitting there with your Alpha 1 wishing, well, why can't I have at least some of the capabilities, not that Canon or Lumix are providing, but some of the capabilities we're seeing in the ZV-E10, the Z7FC, or I said that wrong, the ZFC, or what about the recently announced camera, the Sony A7 R5? And yes, I know that has a new AI dedicated chip, but there's certainly some autofocus enhancements. There's breathing control, there's AF assist, and there's actual animal eye detection that could actually work. Why can't we see firmware updates added to these cameras? And if you're a prospective Sony customer and you're seeing that Lumix and Canon are constantly providing firmware updates to keep their cameras current, but Sony isn't, thinking that, every 2 or 3 years I'm going to have to buy a whole new body to get just minor increments and updates, well, it might change your decision. It might alter or persuade you to go to a different brand. So this is why this story about a potential new firmware update coming on February the 1st by Sony Alpha Rumours has really caught my attention. Sony Alpha Rumours says they got this information from an unknown source stating that on February the 1st, Sony will release some new firmware updates. The source wrote, A new firmware update will come to the A1 February, including video AF, similar capabilities to the Sony A7R5. Now, sadly, this is a rumor from an unknown source, but it's certainly plausible. Many people have talked about this, well, lack of a strategy behind Sony's firmware updates, a lack of addressing Canon and Panasonic's constant enhancements through firmware updates, wondering why on earth we get these entry-level cameras around $1,000 that are providing better video capabilities, such as animal eye detection. Animal eye detection, which is just a standard capability now, but we can't get it to work on a $6,500 Sony Alpha 1, a flagship mirrorless camera, a firmware update for the Alpha 1, and other cameras to bring much-needed capabilities that are essentially just software updates, I think will not only make customers happy, but remove that stigma that Sony is just not interested in updating their camera models, that if you want new capabilities and features, well, you just have to go out and buy a new camera. And that doesn't wash. It doesn't wash with me. If you're buying a flagship mirrorless camera, you want it to be current. You want it to be better than everything else in the lineup below it, even up to the point where it's getting ready to be refreshed. And then, of course, when they come out with a new model, you'll feel free, you'll feel happy, you'll feel very happy to upgrade into that A1 Mark II, knowing that it's going to have better video and stills capabilities than every other camera beneath it, not only today, but up until the future. And if you want to stay up to date on the latest camera news and rumors, go ahead and subscribe and make sure you choose all notifications. It saves you from scrubbing all the latest Twitter feeds, RSS feeds, all your favorite websites, YouTube channels, and the list goes on. And also one other thing too, I've started publishing regularly to my Twitter channel, and that's going to include a whole lot of stories that I don't put out videos for. So over the last couple of days, I think I've released about 6 or 7 stories on my Twitter feed, whereas I've only published 2 videos. I've only got so much time, and certain stories, all the major stories, all the major news and rumors of all the major camera brands and models are going to be covered on this channel through videos. But all the little stories, well, you'll catch those on my Twitter feed. And of course, if you're interested in purchasing any of the gear that I mentioned in this video, please use my affiliate links down below. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great week.